study of the history of the Negro in Muncie, and this is being recorded on February 1st, 1972. Mr. Findley, could you tell me when you first came to Muncie?
October the 17th, 1905.
1905. Do you remember, where did you come from? Do you remember where you came from, where your family came from?
From Paulding, Ohio.
Paulding, Ohio. Yeah. Do you know why your parents came to Muncie?
Well, my dad and mother had friends here, a couple here that they were just like brother and sister. The two families were just like brother and sister. Mr. and Mrs. Isaac Powell was their name. And he came out here first, and then he kept after my dad to come. Finally, one fall, I don't know how long before that Mr. Powell came out here, but later on, he kept down after my dad to come out here, so my dad came here, and he liked it. So he came back home. Now, this is the way my dad and mother told me about it. I remember about it, but of course I wasn't in on the conversation what they said to Mr. and Mrs. Powell or anything like that. That was just
right.
What they told me and what a little bit I remember about it. And he decided to come out here because he thought it was better than Paulding. And in Paulding, I can remember that well, it was Fraser's town. And my dad and my brother were always getting in trouble down there, and that's the reason why he really wanted to get away. But of course, as I said, this was to him was a better place to live. So one Sunday morning, we, my dad and my mother and sister and grandfather, we all got on a wagon and started for Muncie. And we drove to Fort Wayne the first day. It was on Sunday morning. We drove to Fort Wayne the first day. We stayed there with my uncle Sunday night and Monday until after the streetcars quit running in Fort Wayne, because the horses had never seen streetcars and they were fractious, and we waited till that streetcar stopped running so they didn't have so much trouble with them. And then on Monday night, we left there and drove this side of, well, I can't say just where it was, but I think it was this side of Bluffton. No, that's too far. But anyhow, we drove until Tuesday night, and then we stopped at a old schoolhouse, and my dad took the hay off the wagon and put it in a coal house, a wood house, because they burned wood at that time, and he put that in this hay in the wood house. My dad, my mother, my grandfather, my mother, and my sister and I, we slept on that hay on blankets that night. And my dad slept on the wagon with the horses. Then the next day, we drove to about Montpelier, I guess it was. And from there, we stopped overnight again. But I don't remember that stop, really. All I remember is where we stopped at this schoolhouse. And then the next day we got into Muncie, which was October the 17th. And we went to Mr. and Mrs. Powell's home. They lived out East Jackson Street near the country club. At that time, the house is still standing out there that they lived in, a log house. And we stayed there for, our furniture was shipped in a boxcar. And after our furniture got here, we went to housekeeping, or lady that 11, well, on, it was on the corner of 5th and D Street, which now is Brady and Russie. And we lived there just 1 month. Where my grandfather died. While we lived there that 1 month, he died. And we moved from there out in what they call Boyston.
Where's that at?
That's just east of the wire mill out there. Those houses that look almost alike out there. That's what they called Boyston at that time, and it was because Jim Boyce built all those houses out there during the gas boom. Old man Jim Boyce built that out there during the gas boom, and they called it Boyston. We lived in a house out there, but the barn wasn't much good, and my dad always was crazy about his horses, so he wanted a better barn. And there was a double house on Jackson Street. That was on Leland Avenue. And but this better barn was on Jackson Street. So we moved over in this double house so he could have the better barn for his horses. We lived there. That was in 1905. We lived there until, well, I left and went to the Army in 1917, and they were still living there when I came back in 1919.
Did you go to school in Muncie?
Yes, I started in school in January of 1906 at the Longfellow School, as we know now. That was the year that the Longfellow School was built. And this school up here was built.
Oh, that's okay.
And
you know what I'm doing, though. Okay.
We went to school up there, my sister and I, and I, what they call graduated at that time, in the 8th grade up there, and they gave diplomas then, and had commencement exercises, just the same as they do at high school and college now. And our commencement exercises was at old Weiser Grand Theater. Yeah.
That's okay. Do you remember, you said you came here, did you say you came here, your grandparents were here?
No. My granddad came with us.
Well, now, who was that lived down on by the country club? You said?
That was Isaac Powell. Friends. He and his wife were, and my father and my mother were just like brothers and sisters. And Stanton Powell's father and mother.
Oh, yeah.
They were just friends that we lived out there in the country with in Paulding. And they were always very close. And we just, after Ike Powell came out here, as I said, he called my dad and mother, or my dad rather, of course, my mother was just with my dad, and he just...
how many other, Negro families were here, when you came, or do you know any that were here?
Well, I know that Schuyler and Odie Goins, that's Mabel Goins, Mabel Peel's father and mother, they were here, I knew them. And Speaker, Ambrose Speaker, and his wife, they were here. And I don't remember whether the Alexanders were here then too. I don't remember Mr. Alexander's first name, but he and his boys, and he had one girl. I don't remember her name.
You don't have to whisper. I want yours too. Yeah. No, see, this is just what we want is information, and I told Mr. Clem that what they plan to do is to put these tapes in archives out there, and then any students, in the future that want to build on it and everything, well, they can go. Cause we know we want.
When Clem came here, there were a lot of Negroes here.
Yeah, but we didn't know them.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know them because I was just a kid.
Did you ever hear anybody say when the first ones came or anything like that? You know,
No, I just don't remember.
I think the Cottons were about the first Negro family, Marley. Cotton and Taylor. Yeah. Because they were here when my father and mother came here. Oh, there were a lot of people here when the Finleys came. They came late.
Yeah, 1905 when we came. I know there were a lot of Negroes here, but I didn't know them because I was just a kid, and I lived out there in Boyston with those Hungarians and Polish people, and only time I got to be with Negro children was when I went to school up here, because I just didn't. It was too far to walk from Boyston up over here.
Did most Negroes live in White? I mean, did they live all around town then, or did they just live in certain areas like most of them do now?
No, not necessarily. The people lived everywhere when we came to Muncie. Uptown on Jackson Street, and Capitola Johnson, her father, he was a cook uptown. They lived all the way up on Adams Street. The Marines lived on Jackson Street, and they lived all over Muncie. My father, of course, we weren't here as early as a lot of the people, but there were a lot of people lived here when we came to Muncie, a lot of people. And he had a blacksmith shop. Did you have that?
Miss Williams was telling about it, but I want to know more about it, about where it was located at.
It was located on south, Happy Street. There between the, just about where that gable storehouse is on the railroad right there. The Catholic, down from the Catholic Church, where that.
The Delaware Trucking Company used to be.
Do you remember what was it called?
The old Kentucky Shoeing Shop.
Kentucky Shoeing Shop.
The old Kentucky Shoeing Shop. And he and Mr. Stokes, who was a former policeman, they were in partnership there with the shop.
That wasn't Stokes as the barber, was it?
No, that was Stokes, who was a policeman, May Stokes' father. And then later he moved up on the corner of Gilbert and Jefferson Street. And he had a wagon. He and Mr. Bryant, that was a white man, they had that business together, and they fixed wagons and shod horses. That was a much larger shop and did a much bigger business.
Well, see, if we get this information, then we can look it up somewhere, like in the courthouse and different places like that. And that's when we try to get as many names and some idea of where it was at, so they can look back in old city directories and different things like that, and really pin it down to times and dates, try to get it as accurate as we can. We know there's going to be some mistakes.
About the dates we came here from Louisville, Kentucky during the gas boom. That's when he moved our family to Muncie.
That's when we came here too.
What was life like, then for Negro families? I mean, what did they do? Where did they go?
Oh, they had their churches and just made their own. Way back there then, there weren't many public places to go to. There was just one community here, and everybody went any place they wanted to go and had their own picture shows. And the church was the main thing in those days. That was our main meeting place, was the church. Of course, I know that they had their lodges.
What about, Negro doctors?
Well, Dr. Cooper was the doctor here then.
I've forgotten about him.
Yes, he was.
You know where he was located at? Can you remember?
Well, they lived out on Martin Street and out near the college out there.
Yeah.
But I don't remember whether he had an office uptown. He must have had an office uptown.
I don't even remember him.
The Coopers and the Gilmores and the Yorks, and there were 3 or 4 families out there on Martin Street at that time.
Sawyers.
And the Sawyers, yes, James Sawyers. What was it he did, Clem, in the earlier days? Mr. Sawyers.
Did he work at the Delaware Hotel? I just don't remember.
I can't remember what he did. And then there was the Robert Riss. Mr. Riss had a shoe shine shop on Walnut Street, and he he employed about 6 different boys. Clem, where's that envelope? I looked at that picture today.
You had it right there
Yeah.
with you.
No, the
You
more
put down
I,
there with your
Did you
chair.
put it by your corner? In the corner there, honey?
the more I find out, you know, the more fascinated I get, you know, with the whole thing. You know, 'cause I find out a lot of things that
Quite a lot about Muncie.
I didn't have any idea.
And it was like that.
Mm.
And, you know, Robert Riff, you know, he moved to Cleveland, and he become a wealthy man. He just died about 6 years ago, I think. He was a Lutherist brother.
Oh, I know Mr. Misery. I didn't know about the brother.
Well, he was a businessman in Cleveland. He was always in business here. He's had a shoe shine shop that had, I think there were about 5 or 6 boys worked in there, and each had a foot, you know, a stand, chair.
Can I get it for you? What are you looking for? That picture?
That picture,
It isn't here. You put it back up in the corner, I think, babe.
What?
Back up there.
And my brother Randolph Wingfield, too, was in the shop with my father. And when he left this shop, he went to Newcastle and was at one time the fastest foreman in Henry County. And Mr. Warner once told me that my father always shod his horses. And he said he never had to fit a horse's shoe the second time. He said it once, and he never had to do that again. So that was quite a thing.
Yeah, that's really nice. What about any lawyers? Were there any lawyers here back in those days?
Well, I don't know of any lawyers back that far back. I'm just trying to think who was the Alexander. He wasn't. Who was that young man? Clem used to
Brawley.
Huh?
Brawley.
Brawley, yes.
But that was much later. That
Yes.
wasn't back in that time.
I can't remember anybody earlier than that. There was Brawley and Alexander, and then Arnold Burton. He had a saloon, you know, down South Wall Street. He was quite a businessman.
I don't know now.
No, I know you didn't. That was way before your time. But he worked for Hitchcock many, many years, but he had his own private business down on South Wall Street. He had a saloon down there. And then Pat Kelly, you know, had a hotel down there on South Wall Street.
I'm finding that out. Can you tell me anything about the hotel? I mean, what was it?
It was just a beanery.
Well, it was just a frame hotel.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
That's the way people do it. He wants to know what happened.
That's what I want to know.
He wants to
That
know
wasn't the only thing, but you could say he sold plenty good clothes. Soul food. I haven't got to see him like this.
Oh, okay.
And, there were a lot of fellows that worked for the rich white people, you know, who had horses in those days, fine horses and carriages. Like Frank Estes, he worked for the A.L. Johnsons for years. And,
Who's that?
Frank Estes.
Yeah.
He worked for A.L. Johnson, and then Mr. Ashford worked for J.E. Johnson.
And Al Lampkin worked.
What did Johnson's do? What did
They had Warner Gear.
Oh.
And Al Lampkin, he was a coachman for W. Hitchcock. He was there before Arnold worked there.
What was Hitchcock? What did he do?
Hitchcock was in Warner Gear too. He was an industrialist.
What about other businesses down on Walnut Street? I've heard there were several colored business places.
Colored business places?
Yeah, businessmen that had, let's see, somebody had a restaurant up there on.
Oh, that was Al. What was that man that had
that was over on High Street.
Yeah.
Oh,
But they had one. Then before they had that, didn't they have
yes,
one up on Howard and Walnut? That club. What was his name? His wife It was nice little.
Hammond's had the one on North
That's
High
what
Street.
that's what I'm thinking about.
And then, of course, years ago, before my time, James Johnson, that was Lucille's husband, first husband, his grandfather had a restaurant there on Wall Street, but I don't know enough about to tell you about it.
And the Hardens had a restaurant down Mulberry.
If they all had those restaurants uptown, what happened, you know?
Well, they just got old and didn't. Nobody came along and took it up.
I mean, there wasn't anything that happened that they just stopped renting to Negroes
We never had
uptown
any trouble like that in Muncie in those days. No, I just think when I read about all this trouble that they have with these kids and everything, we went to school with the kids here in Pilot just like brothers and sisters. And the girl that lived in this house, Mary Adams, we were good friends, and we'd come up here and play in the yard after school, and when we should be home, but we'd take off once in a while and play around before we went home.
Mm-hmm.
But
we didn't have any of the trouble like they have now of any racial trouble.
no,
We just went along and
we just got along.
we did. Now and then there'd be a fight, but that was just a fist fight like kids always have. But it wasn't because of any racial trouble.
Did any Negroes hold any elective offices or anything back in those days that you know about or heard about?
I can't see. I don't remember. Do you think?
No, I don't remember.
Mr. Benson had this barber shop down here too, and that was quite an institution because he did a big business there. I guess you know about him, don't you?
Well, you know, I've heard, you know, different ones because I've talked to, Ms. Williams and Mr. Bill Turner. Also today, and I talked to Miss Woolridge and Miss Hazeltail.
Now, Lucille knows a whole lot about some colored people that used to live back over in here, across from the park. I can just barely remember them, but she knew them better than I did.
Mr. Young had all that property out here.
Yeah.
You know, where Spencer.
And when your father.
You know, where Spencer's
She
lived.
had mentioned, I kind of caught her by surprise like I did. I should have called before I come, but it seems like every time I try to do that, I don't get anything done. So I'm just going to go around and knock on people's doors to be nice enough to talk to them. Hope I don't make anybody mad, you know.
Shouldn't make anybody mad. There are a lot of things that Mr. Duval, you know, he used to run that bus. He about the first 1 month that had a bus, a public bus that ran town. I think he ran town and picked up passengers, didn't he? Have you heard about that?
Well, just briefly. Go ahead and tell me.
I don't know.
I don't know
Who was
much about it. I just can't
Who was
remember
it?
the details. You know, Mr. Duval down here. Anna Mann and his father.
I don't know about it.
Don't you remember Mr. Duval? He used to sort of have sort of a. It seems to me like he taxied with his car for a while, and then he got this bus. But Lord, I don't know enough about it to
I don't remember that.
intelligent account of it. But Lucille would remember. Have you talked to her about all that?
Yeah, I just left her house when I came here.
Well, I think she gave you a lot of information.
Talked to you, but well, I mean, yeah, she gave me a lot, but there's a lot she couldn't remember, you know, and so we just try to get as much as we can, put it all, piece it together, you know, and see what comes out.
Of course, your father had a team thing, didn't he?
He teamed and he hauled stone.
And Mr. Cobbin, I suppose Hazel told you about, he was a horse trader. And he would trade horses, you know, and buy old plugs up and sell them. Get more money, pay for them, you know. And then one time they had this fine stallion. He was a fine horse. He used him for studying, I think. I don't know. Maybe they don't want that part told. I don't know.
It's too bad now.
It was a nice business, and it's nice to know that people And old man Hunt, he used to fix pumps, and he had quite a pump business. I can't remember his first name now.
Well, maybe we can find out.
Maybe so, He lived over on 6th Street. That's where he lived when he died. He had such a piece of property over there. But he had a lucrative business in the pump business back in those days. And let's see, what else can I think of?
I remember this very distinctly, that when we lived out there in Boyston, Jackson Street, out that way, it was a corduroy road. You know what I'm talking about? It's a log road. It was made of logs and then covered over, and they had to dig all that up before they could put the street in. And that was during the time that the interstate automobile was made here in Muncie. And they used to bring those, just the chassis of the car. Drivers rode them out there in all those chuck holes and everything, test them out. My brother came from Fort Wayne here, and he was what they called a rooter. He was just like a plow, except on the front end was just a long piece of steel that was sharp on the end, and they had 4 horses pulling it, and my brother, with a man riding it, my brother guided that and helped dig up those logs out of the street. And I remember how tired he was when the first evening that he did it, how tired he was when he came in the house. And they just plowed up all those logs and then cleaned it all out and then put a starter at the bottom and solid dirt and came up with it. That's the way Jackson Street was made. I helped build a lot of these streets here in Muncie. That is with my dad's team. Jackson Street, Main Street, a lot of those streets. I drove my dad's team and we plowed them up and helped.
They were all that kind of corduroy road?
Yeah, all of Jackson Street was that corduroy road on out to Wilson Road. After that, I just don't remember what kind of road was out there.
Fair road.
But
Used to be just
this was a corduroy road out to Wilson Road. I remember that.
And Lazarus Fletcher, I think, he's the first colored mail carrier that I know of. And then after him came Harry Valentine. But Lazarus Fletcher was Fletcher's grandfather, yes.
That's the first I heard that. Because I thought Frank Baker was the first.
Oh, no.
Harry Valentine was before he.
Lazarus Fletcher was the first that I remember, and that's been, years and years ago.
Yeah.
Because he was one of my father's best friends. And then Harry Valentine. And I can't remember anybody else. I just can't remember.
What about policemen? You remember who first?
Well, this
Negro
was the folks
policeman?
that I told you.
Or
And I
Stokes?
can't think of his first name.
Oh, he was Negro. I thought he was white.
No, he was in business with my father too.
Oh.
But he was colored.
Then there was Pete Scott. And
Oh, there were a lot after that. Some of these later people can tell you
Yeah.
about that.
Well, maybe we can go
Go
back
well.
at their records, you know.
Yeah,
Go
I
Peel.
can do that.
Govell Peel
And
could tell you
O'Geese
a lot
was
about
one.
the policemen.
Who can?
Govell Peel.
Yeah, I talked to Brother.
You
He
see?
may have told me. I don't remember now because it's been a good while since I.
And there
Sure.
was Charlie O'Geese, he was one. But as you say, you can just go up there and get the records of that.
Yeah, we have to know who we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because they're going to tell us whether they were colored or white. But if we get the name, then we can look and find out, you know, when they went on and whatever else we can about them. But we have to have some idea of what we're looking
Go by.
for. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to be told. I was trying to think who I know that would have a lot more information. A lot of the old folks are gone.
I know it. They're going
That's the
fast.
trouble when these young ones just don't keep up with things and don't know. Oh, I just think of the valuable things that we let pass and then keep a record of. You know, it's a terrible thing not to keep records.
Mhm.
These
Yeah.
kids are all to gain by it.
Yeah, I hope so, but still, I think it's important for, I know it's been important for me, you know, to know that, you know, Negroes have been in these businesses, and, you know, and all things that they have done and all, because, you know, a lot of younger people, particularly ones even younger than I am, you know, feel like, you know, well, you know, Negro a long time didn't do anything.
That's right.
Yeah. And they've been told that.
And
you know,
if they just
by
come along and do
people.
half as much as the older people did.
But if they don't know and don't have that to build on, then they don't have any confidence that they can do anything. So that's the reason it's important for them to know what the older generation has done, what it has accomplished, and then they have something to build on and something to emulate.
And in connection with my father's blacksmith shop, he down where you know where Georgia lives, across the street, we owned that house too. The house that the house that we lived in while my father lived was Sam Wheeler's house up on the hill there. You know, that was our own homestead. Up where the Cruz boy lives there.
Yeah.
Not Cruz, he's dead. The Cruz boy lives there.
Yeah.
Not Cruz, he's dead. But
I know, the Bass girl.
Yeah.
Doreen.
She's what's this boy used to live down here?
Parish.
Parish, yes. That was our old homestead.
Oh.
And when then we owned that little house down there across the street from Georgia, where next to Virgie's house, south of Virgie's house, and that lot south of the house, my father had a hog pen clear from one street down to the alley, and he just raised hogs. And he had access to this garbage, you know, from the hotels and things, and every morning he and brother and Ike Myers would go and pick up this garbage, and they didn't need anything else but feed the hogs. And of course he'd sell hogs, and it was a pretty lucrative business at that time. And he just did so many things.
Do you remember very much about Reverend Johnson?
No, I don't know much about Reverend Johnson.
He was here to undertake.
I don't know. Of course I knew him well, but I didn't know when he came or anything. Lucille should have known probably about that.
Well, she mentioned some, but she couldn't remember. Well, like I was asking about, somebody said something about he had an embalming method that would keep people for.
Well, he claimed to have had it, but you just didn't know any more than what he said about it, you know. But you know he could keep them a long time. But you know that boy that was in the accident with Julia Edwards, Lord, he just kept him and kept him and kept him.
That's what they were trying. What was that boy's name?
You don't remember
you
that,
know?
do you? No, I don't remember his name.
No, I don't remember that.
It happened out by Waterman when the car turned over and killed the boy and broke Julia's neck. Do you remember when she wore that neck brace? Well, you was probably a little dog,
I was too small to remember because I remember vaguely, I'm talking about Johnson's funeral home, but I can't remember him.
You can't?
No.
Reverend Johnson?
Yeah.
Well, don't seem like that's been that long. How old are you?
I'm 44.
Are you? You ought to remember Reverend Johnson.
I don't. See, we found some calendar. Miss Phillips had a calendar with him on it, and that was in 1933. See, so I would only been 6 years old then. So
That had been a good
well, shoot, I can remember when I come to Muncie, I was just about 3 years old, but I remember getting on that train and everything.
Yes, well, maybe that was a new experience.
You ought to remember that far back.
I don't remember. I can't remember what he looked like. Like I say, I can remember him saying something about Johnson's funeral, but I can't remember what the man looked like or anything. I remember it was up there on Highland where it was, but I can't put him in my mind.
Oh, well, maybe you didn't go out much then.
Probably didn't, maybe not.
But you was old enough.
I mean, Shirley would have gotten up there, you know. And I remember, you know, a few years later when Slayton's band used to practice up there in Harrisburg and all. I remember that.
But you don't remember Reverend Johnson.
You don't remember the Wire Mill Band, do you?
No. No. First I heard about that. Huh?
Aren't you the oldest boy?
No, second.
Oh, you're the
Robert
second
was
boy.
oldest.
Oh, yes.
I think Robert and John were about the same age. I was a couple years younger than they were.
And I'll tell you, an old man around here, I almost knew him. He's been dead for a good while, but Wick Adams was. Do you know him? Did you know him?
I remember him vaguely, and you know, the only other thing I know about him, I was talking to people up at the fire station one day, and they said that he was up there on the fire department years and years ago.
He was.
And he used to feed horses up there. So I'm
He was
going to get in that book and
he was
find.
a horseman, you know. I expect he did.
They said that they didn't know what he did, but
Hustler.
evidently he fed the horses. No.
A hostler, honey, is.
Takes care of horses. Isn't
No, a hostler is a man takes care of the engines on
the fire engine?
the railroad engine. Hostler.
I didn't know that.
And,
Well, anyhow.
what was that man's name that took care of the engine on the C&O down here for
Honey,
years?
I'll never remember.
Bill somebody, but
Yeah, I expect you remember him. He lived over here someplace. I think his wife's name was Cora, and his daughter married one of those brewers. What was her name?
I can't think of
Another
what his
little
name was.
short woman, and he was a big man. Worked for T&O a long time. Don't you remember him?
Fired up
You
the
see him
engine.
sitting down there at that little shanty in front of that shanty. Now you ought to remember that if you were 40 years old.
I know.
You sure didn't
That's
get out of the
20.
woods very far.
That's the reason I don't remember a lot of things around here, because I lived out in Boston, went to school up here, and after I got out of school, why, I went to work in the factory, and I didn't socialize a whole lot. I just, till I ran into my wife, and she started taking me out.
Socialize over there.
But,
Well, you know, this a while it used to just be a underbrush of hazelnut bushes. Of course, you don't remember that. That was before your time. But Mama used to raise turkeys and ducks and geese and anything you wanted. Well, she had up there in that yard right there on the 5th Street. It's not 5th Street anymore.
Rusty now.
Rusty, yeah.
Who were the most prominent Negro families in, or whatever you want, the ones that kind of stood out? I guess you named
Well,
some
the
of them.
Wingfields were. We were supposed to be.
Valentines.
And the Valentines and Ivies and Cotmans and the Waynes over in town and
Findley were well known. They weren't prominent, but they were well known.
well, you come kind of late. You came the same year my father died. My father died.
Well, you'd only been here 2 years.
Who'd been here 2 years?
You said you was only 3 years old when you came to Muncie.
Well, what's that got to do with when you came to Muncie?
I came here in
I
1905.
didn't say when I came to Muncie. We've been in Muncie a long time when you came to Muncie.
I thought you'd just been here a little while when we came.
Oh, mercy, no. My father died in 1905, right after you came to Muncie. And we've been here years and years before that.
She's talking that guy. It couldn't have been years and years.
No, it couldn't.
That old.
You don't know how old I am, boy. You don't have any idea. Yes, indeed. He'd been here a long time before.
You mean you had been here a long time?
Huh?
You mean you had been
Well,
here?
he brought me here.
I
We'd
thought
all
you was
been
talking
here.
about me.
He was talking about my father. We'd all been here.
Did I ask where your family came from when it came here?
What'd you say?
Where did your family come
Louisville,
from?
Kentucky.
They came from Louisville.
Yes. Louisville, Kentucky.
I found a lot of them come from Ohio, like St. Paul. I thought most of them would come from Kentucky, but so far most of the people I've talked to have.
Ohio. A lot of them come from Ohio.
That's strange, Well, how did all those colored families get up in Ohio?
Well, a lot of those families came up from South Carolina to Ohio, especially up around Dark County, places like that where those white colored people are. Most of them came from the South originally, years and years back.
My mother was...
Through the Underground Railroad and some of those things. That's why they
I imagine.
stopped along in there and all?
I imagine.
My mother came from Jamestown, Virginia.
My father was from Charleston, West Virginia, and my mother was from Louisville, Kentucky. She was from Bardstown, Kentucky, because she lived down there.
Well, that's one thing I've learned, you know, that I just almost assumed that most people, you know, probably came from the South. In the early time, they didn't. They didn't come here from the South. They came from the South and went somewhere else and then came here. What about any Negro newspapers or anything? Remember any?
Vaguely, but I don't know enough about them to tell them. They used to have little. They didn't
Can't
have
remember no names or anything you might look for?
No, I couldn't tell you. That's the one. I just can't remember.
If Oliver was living, he could tell you some things that we just don't know because.
Yes, he could say a lot of things.
Well, what about the era when the Klan was around and all? You remember anything about that? Anything unusual that happened that
I remember.
It's in your mind?
I remember the meeting, a big meeting they had down here in the park, and Negroes, of course, were around where they could hear what was said at that meeting, and they talked about Negro stepped under a rubber tree for 6,000 years and had sense enough to make him a pair of boots. I remember them saying that.
In Africa.
But,
I just remember the time they were so excited when they said they were coming down here from Marion, you know, after that lynching. And who was it? What was that officer's name that brought the guns
Fred
out?
Puckett.
Fred Puckett brought the guns out to him for protection.
Yeah, I found a lot of people thought a lot about Puckett.
Oh, yeah. That's the first time I ever scratched my ticket. I voted the Republican ticket up until that time, and for Fred Puckett, I scratched my ticket that time. That's the first time I ever voted Democrat ticket.
I don't think they've gotten away with that. I'm not sure they might have, but I really don't think they could have.
Not with Fred Puckett's here. They wouldn't have gone into jail and got him unless they'd killed him. I just believe that much in Fred Puckett. He and Benbow, he was the sheriff, and Benbow was deputy, and they used to ride bicycles out flying men like they were looking for someone. They'd be on their bicycles and ride bicycles.
Well, I guess there were some real good people even back in them days.
There were some good ones. You know, here in Muncie, when we first came here, there wasn't near the segregation. Now, there was some segregation, I won't say that, but we couldn't go every place in the shows, and down McCullough Park over here was segregated, as I guess you heard about. And John Hampton, that's old man John Hampton was the one that stopped the segregation down here in McCullough Park. And I wanted to ask him that Sunday afternoon at a meeting down at the lodge that if you're elected, will you stop this segregation down here in the park?
You and who else were there?
Oh, there was a gang that was down to the lodge down here. It was a meeting
Your
down here.
club?
No, it wasn't.
I thought they sent a committee down to one.
No, they sent me to Mrs. Turner, and she wanted our club to take the lead of it, and I told her she belonged to NAACP, and she was chairman. Jesse Pettigrew was chairman, and but that Sunday down here, when I asked John Hampton, he told me right there before the place was filled that if he was elected, there'd be no more segregation in McCullough Park. And he was elected, and there hadn't been any segregation in McCullough Park since. That was old man John Hampton.
You know, Hurley, the thing about it is that about these youngsters, they don't really realize what we have gone through to get this far. Because we've had all sorts of organizations and things, you know.
But they haven't had anybody to tell them. That's why I was telling Miss Williams that, you know, the young people can't know if there's no way to, you know, there's no record of it or nobody to tell them. That's the reason like I say, it's meant a whole lot to me since I've been, you know, working with this thing to go around and talk with people and find out what
things that have been
what they
done,
have done.
and how we blazed the trail for them.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, we've done a.
So I think it's important, and I think it'll mean. I know it'll mean a lot to them because I know it's meant a lot to me, you know, and for them to know, you know, where they come from, you know, that they have a lot of things to be proud of. You don't have nothing to be ashamed of.
That's right.
And, but the only way they'll know it is for somebody to try to dig it out and get it out where they can find out.
Looks like you would get quite a bit from the NAACP records.
Well, if we can ever run them down, you know,
that's the trouble.
Find them, that's the thing.
They always want, they're the main organization, and yet they always want somebody else to go to the front for them. They won't stand up themselves.
I'm trying to think that Dr. Smith was the president for a long time. Frank Baker might give you some good information if you go to him.
I plan to get on and talk to him. I'm going to talk to Mr. Knight, too. Think he might know.
Well, he wouldn't know too much about the earliest part of Muncie because he did the Come Lincoln Christians.
Oh, have you talked to Charles Board?
No, I haven't talked to Charles Board.
Have you talked to Groval?
Yes, talked to Groval.
Charles and Frank Baker to give you quite a bit of information. Go to Frank, and he's sitting there, and I'm sure he'd be glad to talk to you anytime.
Charles would too, I'm sure.
Because Frank and Charles both were in on the, you know, the YMCA and all those things.
When was Bachelor Benedict's organized, Mr. Clem?
In 1920.
1920.
No, 1920, yeah, 1920, wasn't it? Yeah.
Do you remember what they were organized for? I know Miss Williams said that the Entrepreneurs was organized because the women, you know, the men had organized the Bachelor Benedicts and the women were organized groups for themselves. And she kind of gave me the background on the Entrepreneurs, and I'm trying to get
now, Charles has got the history of it. He'll give you a good account of it.
Good.
Because they just had their initiation here the other week, and he gave a nice account of the history of the club.
He did. Oh, he really.
I mean, that's probably one of the oldest. I'm sure it's the oldest social organization. And that's between them and Entrepreneurs, because
we both organized to better the social conditions, because back there they just had, you know, just public dances, and our mothers and fathers didn't want us to go, so the boys organized their club to help the social conditions of the club. And I remember our club, we put girls out of the club to go to dances, to public dances. And now people have let down so that part of it. You can do most anything you want to do and get by with it.
I wouldn't attempt to tell you anything about the Bachelor Bandit Club, because I'm sure you'll talk to Charles and you can tell him that we said that for him to give you the history of it, which is, and he knows it from A to Z, because as Alice said a while ago, he gave the history of the club the other night at our installation of officers, and he really made a nice talk.
Well, he worked on it. He just like anybody else that has to do. And our club, Clem, Groval, and Charles are the only charter members, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I forget, I'm one of the charter members.
You said our club. That means like we were charter members of your club.
No, your club. We've been organized almost that long. I forget.
Yeah, she said February 1920.
Well, that's the same year.
When Entrepreneurs organized. I remember her giving me that information.
Well,
I didn't think, I just didn't know until just last year or so that you girls organized the same year we did.
I just forgot the year, but I know it was right after you boys organized, and we organized at O.C. Smith's house.
Yeah.
Well, about any?
So we've been going a long time.
Yeah, yeah. What about any trials or anything like that? Remember any unusual trials, you know, that Negroes were involved in back there?
Well, the biggest one I can remember is when,
McRae shot Frank Bass.
no, honey, this is before that. When Ambrose Ray shot Clarence Talley.
Clarence Talley,
Clarence
yeah.
Talley down here at this old saloon right down here on Broadway. That was a white saloon, but Negroes went there.
Well, it wasn't in that saloon, was it?
Somewhere along about the year. So
Baby wasn't in the saloon, was it? Wasn't over across the street there in that
No,
road?
honey, it was at the saloon. It was either in front or inside. I don't remember which. But it was at the old
It was over
saloon.
Franklin's place across the street, honey.
Franklin who, honey?
Louis Franklin's father.
No.
Had that gambling joint across the street?
No, it was at the saloon.
No, honey.
Well, don't get me mixed up, because I was on trial at that trial. I was on trial, and I was just a young girl. But you see, we had come from church on Saturday night. Used to have markets over Bethel, and when we come by there, they were both standing out there in front of the saloon. And it was that same night that he shot Clarence Talley. But don't confuse him, because just wait and be sure about it, because I was sure it was at the saloon that he was shot. It wasn't over at Franklin's place.
You know where Franklin's place was, don't you?
No, I don't.
It was crossing the park, just south of Benson's.
No.
Over there in the park.
Well, that's where.
The old saloon was on this side of the street.
On what side, Clem?
On the east side of the street.
I beg your pardon. Olin Saloon was on the same side that Mr. Benson was on.
No, honey. Well,
oh, yes. Well,
no.
you just don't take our word. You just get that from somebody else, because, Clem, you're way off.
no.
Oh, but you are. And I don't know who to call to find out. John Lucas would know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we can check it. I mean, like I say, it's not very important. We can get some names, some ideas, and clues, and look in
But that was,
different
I
records
think,
and
about
old
the biggest.
newspapers and all, and find out. You know.
About the biggest trial, I think, was when Ambrose Ray shot Clarence Talley. Because Ambrose was such a mild sort of a fellow, you know, and for him to shoot somebody, it just tripped up the town.
Then it was Reuben McRae shot Frank Bass. That happened on South Ebright Street.
Yes, but that happened
That's been a long time ago.
about 20 or 30 years ago.
More than that.
But this other's been 50 years ago or more.
Well, let's see.
What else was there? I don't remember. There was a lot of blueness going on, but I don't remember.
It's kind of hard to remember. You'll catch somebody cold turkey and all, but I appreciate y'all taking time to talk to me.
Well, I'm glad that you agree from that little we got.
Well, you'd be surprised how much you get when you put it.
Together.
See, they got some girls that type this all up.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Then when they put it all together, they got a
Quite
whole file drawer out there.
Uh-huh.
Thing. So when they put it all together, right?
When did you girls come to Muncie?
I don't know.
You were late.
Yeah, I think Mom said in the 1920s something. By 1922, 23. Because I was born in 27.
Yeah.
Sure, you're really a Hoosier, aren't you?
Yeah. Full-blown Muncie height. I mean, you know.
You're not ashamed of it, are you?
Oh, I'm not ashamed about it. I'm going around bragging about it.
Well, what difference does it make where you were born?
Oh, not that much, I guess.
Now, Marion Ramey used to say that he was ashamed that he was born in Muncie. And I'm proud of Muncie. And when anybody says anything about Muncie, it just burns
I'm not
me
ashamed
up.
to be born here, you know.
Well, there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Blowing about.
Well, I'll tell you,
There's nothing to be ashamed of. And Muncie's a fine little old town, I'm telling you. And got more rich young white people in it than any little town around in this kind of part of the country.
Muncie used to be a bad town.
Well, who made it bad?
Maybe it just had a bad reputation.
Yes, it did.
You know.
But whatever, I wouldn't be ashamed because I lived in the town. Chicago and New York and all those places got bad reputation.
You used to call Little Chicago.
Well, I know they did, but after all, it wasn't your fault that it was bad.
Down there from the railroad to Willard Street, and from Willard, from Walnut down to Elm.
Anyhow, I
was
was
known
in
as-
the place in which I was
was known
living,
as Red Light?
in which I was born.
And it was bad down there.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Bad everywhere.
It was bad down there.
Yes, you was bad down there with them too much.
I wasn't bad. I was just down there. I wasn't bad.
What did Mr. Blair do?
Mr. Blair, he worked at the
No, wait a minute.
Keller Bryce
That's what I
Company.
was going to say.
That's where he worked.
Keller Bryce.
Keller Bryce, that was right where in the
Woolworth.
Johnson block there, on the ground floor of the Johnson block. It was a big haberdashery. And he worked there for years and years, and then he went to the wire mill, and then after that he went in politics and had a city job. But that's where he worked for years, haberdashery.
Well, he was around here for a good while, wasn't
Yeah, he was here quite a while. Because he and Amy got married in 1905.
You don't know who Amy is,
he?
do you?
Huh?
Yeah, I remember that.
You know who Amy is?
Yeah, I remember
Now you
her.
know he remembers Amy.
Well, I didn't know.
Yeah, I was a teenager when
She died.
Yeah.
I think everybody knew Amy.
He, Mr. Blair lived longer than she did.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I remember him because, you know, we used to kind of hang around with Beverly and all them with my age.
And then he was superintendent up here at Sunday School a long time.
Yeah, Schaefer.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where I remember him, and Mr. Powell, and Ruth Taylor, and Miss Loris, and all those people. Sunday school there at Schaefer, but some of that stuff you were trying to jog me on, I just can't remember. Yeah.
Well, you were just too young.
Mhm.
I know my dad and mother, my mother, I never remember her walking without crutches. She had inflammatory rheumatism,
Mhm.
and he finally just killed her, got in her throat, and she couldn't swallow, and that's what caused her death. But my dad was just a hard-working man.
Mhm. Do you have any old pictures or anything, you know, that might be that might be reproduced for a history book or something?
I just got those two pictures, but don't know where they are.
I mean, see, I won't take them now, but when they get ready, and if they can get them and make copies of them, then get them back to you, because people don't want to give
No, I
something like
won't
that
give
up.
them
You know,
up.
Miss Hazel Taylor's got some pictures of Ball Brothers Band, and some of that stuff that we want to go back and get, but we'll wait until they're ready to copy it, and then
I got a
keep it for
picture
few days and get
of
it
my
back.
class when I graduated out of Wadley School up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you mind letting us use it when time comes?
No.
Come back.
Didn't you see it in green? Adam was
Yeah,
here a while back.
Think you can identify most of them?
I can name them all. That's the reason they brought it to me. Because I could name all. And the girl that used to live here when we were going to school, we were contestants. That is, each one tried to be the most intelligent, and she got the highest grade. It was a county school. She got the highest grade in the county, and I got the second highest grade in the county when we graduated from up here at Long Falls School.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the picture here.
You wouldn't be bragging, would you?
You were a scholar then.
I was. She'll tell you that I was a scholar.
Oh, I can tell you.
She'll tell you I was a scholar. And why I quit school, I'll never know.
Well, just don't go into that. Just quit because you're stupid and didn't have sense enough to keep on going.
And
But your
still
mother and father both
more
wanted
stupid when I
to go.
married you, wasn't
I don't know about that, Jim. And that much good up until the time you
Yeah.
You know, we'll be married 100 years, 50 years in June.
Yeah,
It's a long time to stay with him. How long you been married?
I've been married been 24 years. First
Honest?
Honest.
Why, it don't
Yeah.
seem possible. Died.
These years have passed pretty fast to me.
Yeah.
Some good ones, some bad ones.
Yeah, we put them all together.
You know, it was a funny thing. Bill Blair, you know, he's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And this white man in Detroit, I think it was, told my brother that my father was one of the first jockeys, Negro jockeys to ride in the Kentucky Derby.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, he took that and ran with it. Bill did.
I know it. He won some money off some of us guys. Isaac Murphy.
Yes, Isaac Murphy. They say that was Isaac Winfield. This man told my brother, but of course you don't have anything to show for it, and you can't prove that it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what he told John. So I suppose you could go to the records maybe, but if he's Isaac Murphy, I don't know what you'd do about that.
Yeah, but he can win it because most of them wouldn't believe that, a Negro had ever rode a Kentucky Derby winner.
That's it.
So just the fact that he did. Is a plus, and of course Blair throws it in. That is again something.
I tell you,
that Bill Blair is something, I tell you. He can come in here and in 5 minutes he insists to be an argument and says put him out.
And then if he don't come, why? I wonder why he don't come. But he certainly looks after it.
Yeah.
He gets after sis about her age.
And you know how I found out how old it was? It was my pocket wouldn't look to the driver's office.
No kidding?
He's just awful. He's terrible.
I know Bill's got that.
And he's never let me forget it. Not that I didn't care, because they all know how old I am. But he sure has razzed me about it.
Well, I really appreciate y'all taking time to talk to me. And,
that's all right, honey. I think it's a worthwhile thing, and we'd be stupid if we didn't.
Yeah, I think we'll get it together, and I know the university and even, a lot of people have expressed an interest in the Ball Foundation. Finance, printing.
And it's worthwhile information, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't have any idea how many Negroes have been pretty good.
I know they don't. I know all the, kids that I know, and so
And just look at all that ground old man Young bought out there. Just look at all that. And it's valuable property, too, now. And that's just... He was a character, do you remember him?
Oh, no, sis. He died way before he was born.
No, he didn't die before he was born, because he was living when I was working up there at Simpson's. That.
What was his name? What was his first name?
What was his name?
Young, that's all I remember. He was born.
No, he didn't die before he was born, because he was living when I was working up there at Simpson's. That.
What was his name? What was his first name?
What was his name?
Young, that's all I remember.
What was his name? He owned that property where Agnes Spencer lives and all through there.
All up there along North Broadway.
Building.
We might be able to find
Now, it's a shame I can't remember his name. And all the children that he had. Well, you knew the youngest girl, what's her name? What's that youngest girl's name?
Comes here to see you constantly.
Didn't you know Evelina Day and Honey Day? Well, she's his daughter, Evelina.
Murdy Woods.
Murdy Woods.
Yeah, but I knew their kids,
Yes, Murdy Woods was his stepdaughter. Her mother married him that name. But why can't I remember him? He was a character.
And Miss Murdy Woods, she lived over on Market Street, was that?
She lived there on the corner of Market and Broadway.
And some girl she had there with her. What was that girl? Wasn't Barbara Day. The girl's name was something else. And I remember we used to go over there and she'd have parties out
She
there.
married, one of those girls married Rosaire Haywood. And
That's the one I think I'm
that's
thinking
the one,
of.
I'm sure.
I can't think of her
I
name.
can't think of her name either.
But I know we used to go over there and she'd have, parties out there.
And you remember Lewis Horn that used to have that property way out, that was way out of the Rickyard, wasn't it, Clem? Mr. Johnson, I know you would remember that. I know you would remember that, because that's been a long time ago. Lewis Horn, he had some valuable property out there.
Well, that's way out westward.
Where you used to take the Johnson girl. Didn't she live out there then?
Oh no, the Johnson girl lived out Jackson Street on Kilgore.
On Kilgore?
Not Kilgore, not Kilgore, Tillotson.
Well, that was out toward the brickyard, wherever that was. And that's Mr. Horn used to live on there.
She lived about 2 blocks off of where he was born.
No, he didn't die before he was born, because he was living when I was working up there at Simpson's, you know that.
What was his name? What was his first name?
Oh, what was his name?
Young, that's all I remember.
What was his name? He owned that property where Agnes Spencer lives and all through there.
All up there along North Broadway.
Where that building is.
We might be able to find
Now,
out.
it's a shame I can't remember his name. And all the children that he had. Well, you knew the youngest girl, what's her name? What's that youngest girl's name?
Comes here to see you constantly.
Didn't you know, you knew Evelina Day and Honey Day. Well, you know, she's his daughter, Evelina.
No.
And
Murray Woods.
Yeah, I
Murray
remember
Woods.
Yeah, but I knew their kids, you know.
Yes, Murray Woods was his stepdaughter. Her mother married him that name. But why can't I remember him? He was a character.
And Miss Murray Woods, she lived over on Market Street, was that?
She lived there on the corner of Market and Broadway.
And some girl she had there with her. What was that girl? Wasn't Barbara name? It was another. The girl's name was something else. And I remember we used to go over there and she'd have parties out
She
there.
married, one of those girls married Rosaire Haywood.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the one I think I'm
that's the
thinking
one,
about.
I'm sure.
I can't think of her
I
name.
can't think of her name either.
But I know we used to go over there and she'd have, you know, parties out there.
And you remember Lewis Horn that used to have that property way out, that was way out of the brickyard, wasn't it, Clem?
Who was that?
Mr. Johnson, I know you would remember that. I know you would remember that, because that's been a long
Who's that,
time
Nick?
ago.
No.
Lewis Horn, you know, he had some valuable property out there.
Well, that's way out Westwood.
Where you used to take the Johnson girl. Didn't she live out there then?
Oh no, the Johnson girl lived out Jackson Street on Kilgore.
On Kilgore?
Not Kilgore, not Kilgore, Tillotson.
Well, that was out toward the brickyard, wherever that was. And that's Mr. Horn used to live on there.
She lived about 2 blocks off of